We are live. Welcome, everyone, to Conversation on Copilot in Teams. So, this is a session on Teams itself, on Copilot and collaboration in Teams, how you can use Copilot to kind of brainstorm things, to come up with ideas, and more specifically, just to make your lives easier, because honestly, that's what we all looking for. So, Copilot is a digital assistant that will help you sift through the endless amounts of data that you see. Let me start off by actually introducing myself. My name is Joe Indelli. I'm a cloud solution architect for Microsoft, focusing in endpoint and Copilot, honestly. And we're here to have a very interactive session. So ask questions, be engaged. If you have Copilot licenses on your laptop, go ahead and log in. We're going to show you how to get in. We're going to show you what to do. And hopefully you'll learn a few things as we go with this. I will also note, because there was a question in the back early on, all of these sessions will be recorded and available to you after the fact. So if there's one that you want to go to that's at the same time, you will be able to go back and watch the recording. So we are going to get started, and we are going to start with an overview of prompting in Copilot. So if you've searched the web, we all know you use Bing because nobody uses Google. But if you search the web, you're used to keyword searching. If you want to find out things about baseball, you're going to type in baseball. If you want to find out, and I say this as someone who grows the hottest peppers in the world every summer, what is the newest hottest pepper in the world? You just throw it into Google that way. It tends to be keyword based and just pieces here and there, and it comes up with words that match. So anything that has bacon, anything that has hot peppers, it'll show up in there. What it doesn't know is and doesn't understand is context. It doesn't know that, for example, bacon is a breakfast food, so it goes along with other breakfast foods. It doesn't know natural language, so you can't speak to it like you would speak to a person. That's the big differentiator with AI. When you speak to it or when you type to it, you type in sentences that will dictate what you want to do. Like if you were asking, if I was going to say, hey, Prakash, what's good for lunch? That's different than saying lunch, Raleigh. You get more details, you get more information. Hey, Prakash, I'm looking for pizza for lunch. You get better context. So we're going to show you the gist of what I call the gist of your prompt. You have the what you're trying to do. You have the who, what you're targeting. You have the where, the source, and the grounding. And the source could mean different things. If you do a search on the web that's Copilot based, it's going to look for content and it's going to be grounded in the web. So that means the data it's taking from is in the web. Now, if you're licensed for Copilot for Microsoft 365 and you say, what are the pressing items from my email over the last week while I was on vacation? Number one, I spoke that like natural language because Copilot will understand that. It will understand the entire context of that. Number two, it will be grounded in your email and your Teams chats and anything that you may have received in the past week. So it knows your data. That's what it means when it says where grounding. Grounding is just the source of the data. And then how will dictate how Copilot responds. And that can mean a lot of things that get very technical. So I'm not going to go crazy into that particular one. What we'll say, though, is there's prompting and then there's prompt engineering. Prompt engineering means a more complicated prompt that goes into fine-grained detail on what it is you're looking for and what it is you're trying to find. So you can say, Copilot, give me a list of my meetings from the week. You can say, Copilot, give me a list of my meetings for the week, along with information on the customers and what they are doing. So it'll give you more context and build out more information on that. We'll show you an example then as we go along too. So if you look at this, the 4 elements that we showed in the previous slide, you're going to see here in this slide. You have your goal, you have your context, generate the 3 to 5 bullet points. So you can also give it a schema to put it into. I want bullet points. I want this in the table. It will tailor this to how you want the actual data. So then you can take that data, you can bring it into Word, you can bring it into PowerPoint, you can send it in an email, you can bring it into a Teams chat. It's extremely powerful because it's not just straight text. You actually get format and you get content to it. Two, the context. To prepare me for an update meeting with agency X. So you're telling it what you want it to do. You want 3 to 5 bullet points. You want it to do this particular thing. Then focus on email and Teams chats within a certain time frame. So you can get very fine grained. And I'll give you a real world example of where I use this type of thing all the time. We get a lot of files shared with us, ridiculous amounts of files shared with us. And if I need a file that Lisa sent me, I don't want to start looking through OneDrive. I don't want to start trying to find the link that came in an email. I'll just say, Copilot, what is Lisa sharing with me? And it will give me a list of everything she shared with me. Then if I want to say she shared it to me in May, it'll narrow it down to just that list. Not only that, but you can say, hey, give me that list of what was shared with me. And then after it gives you the list, that's too much information. Why don't we target May and June? And it remembers the context from the first search and applies the second search to what you had already searched in the first. So it's additive in how it gives you your results. Okay. And this is where we're going to switch over. You're going to go away from the PowerPoint Live. We're going to switch over to sharing the desktop. Okay, so I'm going to warn you all. I work for Microsoft. I'm a nerd, so Yoda is my avatar in my lab. He is in my lab right now. So I have Yoda, and he's there chatting with Luke Skywalker, and we're going to show you the context and what you can do with Copilot there. Now, some of what we're going to show you is this. When you go into Copilot, into Teams, you have your chats. Everyone knows what Teams chats are, right? Does everybody know what a team is beyond the chats? Okay. So a chat is just a one-on-one or a group conversation with somebody. Teams are just a team of users that were brought in for a specific purpose. Like the marketing department will have a team or potential sub-teams underneath, that type of thing. And then you can share files, you can share apps on top, you can add notes where you all interact on specific pieces. When you go here into chat, you're going to see up top the Copilot icon. If you have that and you click on that, this is direct interaction with Copilot. You can tell it to go and grab content from the web. You can tell it to go and grab content from your email, from your chats. This is a lab, so there's not a ton of emails or chats, but I'm going to show you some of the cool pieces of this. One is if you want to say, give me the latest from, I'm going to say, let's take this one. Give me the latest that I sent this account. So if you say, give me the latest that a specific person sent you, it's going to search through your emails and find that the latest pieces that that person sent you. And it pulls it right up here on the list. You could then tailor this if you want to a shorter time frame, or that they included an attachment in the email with. So you have specific context that helps you narrow it down even more. Now, from Teams itself, there's the ability to search, and we are going to bear with me as I move the Teams piece out the window. We're going to show you a little more detail, a little more context, and for this, I'm going to have to go into my actual Teams. So we do a lot of morale events at Microsoft, and this is a large group chat where somebody threw a picture of Bender, which is awesome. But if you click on Copilots here in the chat, you can also interact in a different way. What this is good for is there's all this text here. And say you're part of this chat on a regular basis, and there's a lot of chatter this morning when you weren't able to participate, you were in a meeting, you were doing something, you can always just ask it, and it's showing some of the examples here. Summarize this chat. You can say, summarize the the chat from this morning. So you just catch up on what was just stated. It's really cool because as you can see, there's a lot of text here and a lot of voice, which you obviously not seeing here, but this will take the voice because it was transcribed and put it in there as well. It gives you context. And then if you're more concerned with just finding what you have to do based on the conversation, you can ask, are there any action items in this chat? Or are there any action items for me in this chat? So you can tailor it specifically to you, to your context, to what is important to you and what you need to facilitate the particular request that's coming your way. Yes.
Conversation in there, that's only it's been recorded and transcribed. But pick up that
It's
conversation.
yeah, if it was transcribed. So think of it this way, you can't do it for past meetings. If you have transcription on in that current meeting, and there are ways to turn on transcription automatically. They are not in GCC yet. They will be in government very soon. It's not quite there yet. I can walk you through that process, but it's expected within a month or two. Transcription is, but automatically turning on in the meeting where you don't have to manually do it is not there yet. Yeah, transcription is absolutely there. It'll have no context, it'll know voice, it'll know who said it and when they said it and how they said it. So yeah, you can absolutely do that. The other thing that you can do with this is if you click on the meeting details here, it gives you a past view of the meeting. Now, the value in this, you can get to this either from the meeting chat itself or from the meeting inside your calendar. You have this little recap button, which will have notes from the transcription, which apparently is not giving me any notes in this particular meeting. But it will give you meeting notes and it'll give you the entire recap of the meeting.
You've got something in your content. I didn't know if that was throwing it on.
So this was the PowerPoint that was used. So as long as the PowerPoint is shared out with the group, it is easily accessible here. Anything that was shared is going to be right here. The content itself, what I want is the transcript, and I had one prepped with information on a transcript. I was pretty sure it was that one. Unfortunately, it does not look like it was that. Let's try this one more time. So what's nice about the transcript is you can then just go in there and say, give me any action items for me inside that recap. And it'll tell you, you have to do this, this, and this deliverable. Really easy, really straightforward. It helps today when, I don't know how it is for everyone else, but I think I'm scheduled for 6 calls every hour. And honestly, you keep laughing at me. You can't possibly make everything that you're assigned to today. It's just not possible. It's information overload. So the nice thing about Copilot is it lets you go in, it lets you see that, it lets you do that. And you don't necessarily have to attend everything to know what's coming from everything. So if you have a Copilot on your machine and you are licensed, let's everyone pull up Microsoft Word and let's run through a few things. We're going to show you a little bit on what you can do with this. So, does everyone have Word open? Can you open up Word? So when you start out Word, if you have your Copilot license, hit Alt and I. That's going to come up. So this session is supposed to be on how you collaborate in Copilot. And part of what you do is you're going to spitball ideas. You're going to ask Copilot for ways to do things, what you need to do, how you should be doing it. Troublemaker in the back talking. We are not going to say anything about that. We're not going to call you out on the middle of the webcast. So we're gonna make this simple and we're gonna just do it in a fun example instead of something that's super serious. And it's just write a paragraph on the hottest peppers in the world. Now, notice something. Traditional Google keyword searches, they don't like, sorry, traditional Bing keyword searches. They don't like misspellings because they know words and they're okay with some misspellings, but not all. Copilot is really good at context. And that context means you see I spelled hottest wrong. It should still understand what I said and still tailor the content for what I said. So right now you're seeing it's building a list of hot peppers in the history of hot peppers. Takes a minute. It's done. Now you notice when it's finished, it'll say, hey, do you want to keep this? Or it leaves this bar open. In this bar, you can refine it. And think of it this way. If you want it to sound more formal, you can say make it more formal. If you want it to sound more casual, you say make it more casual. The one, or I think the two that I think are most helpful to people are if you work with kids and students a lot, you can say, write this at, say, like a 5th grade level. Simpler tone, easier to understand. If you're doing an email written by you to your colleagues, this is the one that I love the most. Write it in the style that I would write it in. So it will analyze your writing and tailor the message to the style of writing that you have done throughout your time here at North Carolina. So this is, again, this is the part that takes the license that uses the web grounding. But let's have a little fun with the tone. The tone is always the most fun when I do the demos because people give their own examples of what they want to hear. Somebody did Snoop Dogg once. I'm going to say, write this like Elmer Fudd. And as it pulls it together, you're going to see the language changes, but you don't necessarily lose yet. It did not like Elmer Fudd. Okay, Elmer Fudd has worked in the past. What-
Style of Abraham Lincoln. I did that to my husband one time, like wrote something to send it to him. He was like, what is this?
Let's try Abe Lincoln. And as you do this, it's going to regenerate the entire piece of content. Now, you don't necessarily lose all the content. Abe Lincoln was a good choice. I think my all-time favorite was the Snoop Dogg that I did because that was just hysterical. But you notice down here, you can switch back and forth between 1 and 2. And this is the great way to just brainstorm. So in actual work purposes, say you're in HR and you're a hiring manager and you need to hire for a specific role. Just give me 10 things to do for that would be good for the role of an IT support engineer. And it will start building it out and then you can tailor it for your need. Otherwise, we're just going to keep this and do it in Elmer Fudd style. Now, when you go up top, you see that Copilot button in the corner. You click on this and you can interact with the document even more. So you can bring in other files and compare and contrast the files. That's awesome. You could take this file and say, hey, I have a list of these hottest peppers. What's an easy way to know? Well, let's build a table ranking them. And I use this example on purpose. It says, great, what's the criteria do you want to rank them? And I'm going to throw in there SHU, which stands for Scoville Heat Unit, which is just the measure of how hot they are. Okay, this worked like an hour ago, literally an hour ago.
What it thinks SHU means. Spill it out, it might.
This literally worked an hour ago. And now it's ranking. And notice how it put SHU next to Scoville heat units. It knows. For the record, they're missing a lot. There are things closer to Pepper X than the Reaper. Anyway, they're all kill you, as someone who's eaten them can attest. This is the type of thing you can do with Copilot. And we are going to go back to the PowerPoint. So as we head back to the PowerPoint, any questions so far?
What are you giving is the licensed version, right?
That needs, so if you were to build that list, you don't need a licensed version. When Copilot Chat hits within the next month or so, you can just use the version that says, hey, Copilot, build me a document that will give me a good description for a hiring manager, or that will, what are the best locations in North Carolina to go swimming, or anything like that. Now, when you say, hey, Copilot, I want to go in and I want to check my email for everything that's pressing for the last 72 hours, or like, it's great when you come back from vacation. Hey, I was out for the last 7 days. Give me all of my action items, put it in the bulleted list, highlight the most pressing ones, and it will do that for you. That part needs the license. So anything that accesses your email or your Teams chats or your SharePoint, you're gonna need a license for. Anything that just goes out to the web and pulls out information that helps you build lists or create content, you don't need a license for. So the question is, how does it play with other applications like Jira? The question is, it depends on the application. We have something called a connector, which if your IT organization builds it out, that connector will go into that source and grab that data too. And most of these, Jira, I believe, is one of them that is supported. I'm 90% certain. All the major players have connectors for Copilot. It's just a matter of whether or not your IT enables it. And like, it's just a matter of taking the time to get that there, because you can't do every request. You have to prioritize the systems that I use most. So the answer is yes, it can connect to other systems. It just depends whether or not they build that out, but it works really well. And you can do it from the main Copilot interface, or usually through Teams. Teams will do it too. That's my favorite kind of question. So we have a weird question coming. Go ahead.
You ask it to catch you up, it'll pull all of that junk that's been filtered out. And if I try to limit it to just my focus, it doesn't work well.
So you want it, you basically, you want to search it, but you don't want it to search everything. You want it to be a more targeted search.
Yes, like, and it's like not have all of the stuff that I've already built out rules hide from me.
Okay, so she wants the search, does not want it to be targeted. So if you were to say, have you tried saying, I want you to search my focused inbox specifically, and that should work. Okay, that should absolutely work. Teams is not as, there's no focused and unfocused with Teams. So when it pulls chats, it's gonna pull chats. But it should be able to just limit the focused inbox. I'm gonna take that as a go-to to look into for you and see if I can grab an answer to that, because you should be able to limit it to just your focused inbox. You should be able to limit it to just specific users or specific groups, or things just from the state of North Carolina, or email addresses within what is an ncstate.gov email address, or you should be able to absolutely tailor that. The focused inbox, I'll verify that with my,
It did.
it should absolutely know what a focused inbox is by context.
So you need to set up focus box versus just.
No, you don't have to. No, I never look at my non-focused inbox ever, to be honest. And when I tell it to deliver on the content, it does a pretty good job with it. It will build out nice bolded lists. And I think for those of you that have your laptops, I'm going to give you an example prompt that I'm going to throw into chat that gives you really good information. Like, run this, you'll be able to see the results. It will format it in an interesting way for you. And you'll be able just to see how powerful it can be when you get the results. So let's start getting into the actual prompting itself. Also, keep the questions coming. They're very much appreciated. And I keep grabbing the wrong mouse, so I'm going to go and hide the other one so I can't do that again. That would be the smart way to do it. That's why I have him here. Prakash is the man. Oh, let's not do that. Okay. So one quick note, when you're using Copilot in Teams, in general, it's available only inside your organization. So if somebody else from another organization starts the meeting or they own the meeting and they don't have Copilot, they can't turn it on. You cannot turn it on either because you don't own that meeting. They can turn on transcription, at which point you can use Copilot, but only during the context of that meeting. So the owner of the meeting has to have the full license if you're going to take full advantage of the capabilities.
After that meeting, or it was hosted by somebody else, you cannot go in that transcript.
You should
Or
have,
you can ask Copilot to go into that.
if somebody else owns the meeting and they have Copilot and they start Copilot, you'll have the smart recap. That transcript and that recap is called smart recap, and you will have that. It just depends on their team settings and what they allow.
But you can't share that transcript. And I'm only asking that because I had instance where I could share the transcript. I had to go and ask the permission for the person who started the transcript. If they get to share it, give me the privilege so I could end up sharing the transcript later.
That is a matter of what permissions they give you in that particular meeting.
Okay.
So there's a difference between attendees and presenters, different levels.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to try a couple prompts for those that have the license. Go ahead and go into this meeting and just type in, give me a summary of the meeting. And it's going to say the presenter was dynamic and engaging and super exciting. Is also wearing a pretty snazzy blue coat. Although I hear it's not North Carolina blue, it's Duke blue, and that's not good over here.
It's sort of Duke blue. It's not really either. It's closer to Duke.
It's the only blue I had, so this is the one that I brought. I was told to bring blue and white, so that's why I'm wearing blue and white. I can always claim, I'm from Chicago. I can claim it's Coach K and Duke. That's my claim. We are going to go into Teams. Is there a chat for this meeting, Prakash? Has there been any engagement, Karen, in the chat side?
Not in the chat. I've got the chat turned on. Actually, we might have something in Q&A now.
Can you? Okay.
Oh, can you access, create, edit agents that you create through Teams?
So here's what I'm going to tell you about agents. For GCC, agents right now are only available for SharePoint. And it's super easy to do it. It'll take me like 6 seconds to show you. But so the answer is eventually going to be yes. The target for agents, the broader agents for GCC is going to be fall. Right now, you're going to have to make do with SharePoint, and you can do some things with agents and tie into Power Automate a bit with the SharePoint agent. But the greater amount of agents and the tie-in of agents themselves that are coming, and yes, you'd be able to use them in Teams, will come to you in fall.
This is funny. I asked Copilot to summarize the meeting, and it thinks that you are me because we're logged in as me.
Yes,
It's saying Karen did all this.
because Karen is talking an awful lot. She's really good. That's awesome. So Karen, throw something in chat so I can throw it in the group. share out my entire screen.
Get to the chat.
I will in a second. Although, since I'm not a member of the hosting org, I don't have access to Copilot in this meeting. I'm going to grab content and I'm going to share this out. So let's move on to the next one. And what are some questions about prompting I can ask? So ask Copilot, what are some questions about prompting with Copilot that you can ask me? What does it give us?
I don't know, I put that in the chat. That's one thing I have to learn to do. I'm figuring out what to put in Copilot and where the Copilot is rather than the chat, because I've accidentally put prompts in chats with people and chats and prompts.
I still do that. And I've been using Copilot for 2 years now. You do.
If you ask Copilot, what's the best way to give a prompt? Give a sample.
All right. All right, here's some questions you can ask about prompting in Copilot. How do I create? I have a lot of them. How do I create an effective prompt? What are the key elements of a good prompt? Can you give examples of simple and complex prompts? How does Copilot understand natural language in prompts?
These are actually solid questions.
What is prompt engineering and how can it improve Copilot's responses?
And the nice thing is if you do something like that, you can ask it to highlight any one of those specific and give you the answers. So we talked about prompting, we talked about prompt engineering a bit. We're showing some of the slides now that are showing you what you can do, like summarizing chats. What I want to do while we still have plenty of time is show two things. And one of them.
Question, can Copilot help you generate formulas, pivot tables, charts from raw data more effectively in Excel?
Absolutely. There's an actual session being led by a colleague of mine, Heather Masters, who is an absolute superstar. These sessions are recorded, so you should be able to go back and see them all. But Heather's doing a session on Excel and Copilot right now, and it's growing exponentially. It's honestly, Excel was lagging a little behind at first. Right now, it is catching up, and there's a lot of things. As someone who is not an Excel master and can't do a VLOOKUP to save his life, Copilot will be able to help you to do that. So when they publish these, which I believe is going to be sometime tomorrow, check out Heather's presentation on Copilot and Excel, and they'll give you everything you need. So I do want to show two more things with Copilot, and we're going to do a couple of these pieces. So just note that during the pilot session, which is effectively where we are now, Copilot can be somewhat limited. It's not as feature rich on the GCC side as it is on the commercial side. That's just the nature of government, because once we build out a solution, we need the federal government to say, yes, this is acceptable. This passes all of our certifications, this has our guidelines, and it's not necessarily Microsoft that is falling behind because the solution is ready. We just need the government to certify it and let us release it, essentially. So right now, it's only during the meetings. Copilot can start as soon as it's selected in the meeting controls. Coming is the ability to just automate the startup, and I will tell you that's a savior, because half the time I would forget to turn it on, and now it just comes on for me. And if Copilot is off, obviously, it is not going to be available for that meeting. Next, we have some ideas. There is a lab called Copilot Lab. You will have these slides and you will have the links in these slides, so you'd be able to get to this. Copilot Lab is just basically a list of prompts that you can go to. Internally, we have, honestly, it's a power app called Prompt Buddy that I know they're talking to the state of North Carolina, and Prompt Buddy will allow you to take your prompts and save those prompts and share them out with other people and have people vote on what they like the best and what they think is the best prompt. It is really helpful and really cool and sometimes really fun. And somebody saved a prompt that said Microsoft, like, scan my email over the last 2 weeks and write a profile about me being a supervillain. And it was just the results you get are hysterical. So I highly recommend doing it and engaging on that. But I wanted to show you this. These are engineered prompts. And these prompts are crazy detailed. These were some that I actually got from our Prompt Buddy internally at Microsoft. And one is to give you an overview of everything you've gotten in the last 10 days, because it's just too much to read. And then another builds action items at the end of the day to prep for the day ahead. I want to take the text from these and I want to paste it in chat so you get a feel for running this in your environment and the type of thing that you see when you do this. And note that when you look at this, oh, I'm copying and pasting with the wrong keyboard again. There's the first one. And then I want you to try the second one. The second one is really helpful because I am not good at checking my calendar for the day. Share the chat. I cannot share the content because there's too much confidential customer information that I can't have broadcasting. And my lab environment, literally Luke and Yoda have sent 3 messages to each other. They don't like each other that much. So this is something that I want you to do in yours and then get a feel for what you see. I can try this in the lab. This is where the labs struggle because there's not seeded with a ton of content. So I can't show everything that I want to show, and I can't show. If I worked with the state of North Carolina on a regular basis, I'd be able to just show you my interactions with them because it's your organization. I can share it, but I can't actually show on the list.
If we've got a few minutes, if you don't mind, I'd like to share something I did. I work for DIT, and a way that I used Copilot in Teams recently. We were implementing the new technology, and we've had a couple of engineers who do it very well, but we didn't have good documentation for end users, and nobody wanted to sit down and write that documentation. So I started a Teams meeting, got them online, and guided them through what to do, because you know how engineers will do. They're like, well, you click this, you do that. I'm like, no, say what you're clicking, say it in the meeting, recorded it, made them go through everything. And then after Copilot, write documentation based on this meeting, structure into these chapters, and had to go and refine it a little bit, but it had some basic user documentation within like 5 minutes.
I love that.
But you have to guide people as to like, tell me what you're clicking. What button did you click? And it was there.
On this.
Go ahead. You want to show it?
Like show how to do it now. I mean, basically that's all we did. And it's documentation for something we're implementing at DIT.
Okay. So what Karen is saying is she had a meeting where they described what they were doing, a full instruction set on how to implement a certain piece of software, click by click, type by type, every little action. And because she used Copilot to transcribe, and this is obviously for the people that are remote, she was able to turn it into a full instruction set in a matter of minutes instead of sitting there typing it out for a couple hours. And that's honestly the type of time saving that you can get from something like this. When you use the tool, I highly recommend that, as good as it is, you look over what it's built, because nothing is ever going to be 100%. It is, I would say 80% of where you want to be when you do any particular thing right now, 75, 80%. It gets you the bulk of the way there, but not across the final line. As someone like, for example, who hates PowerPoint, I have it build my slide decks for me. I can't do it. I can put it in a Word doc all day. I cannot do it in PowerPoint. But it then gets you 80% of the way there where you have to refine the end. Go ahead.
So Karen, when you did the end user, were you able to also transform it, turn it into a web-based video? Because not everyone is
We
a.
did not try that, and it also didn't put the pictures in. We had to go through it because we recorded it, and they were like,
Screenshot.
all right, let's publish. So it wasn't complete, but it saved a lot of time just by using it with a Teams meeting.
It's really helpful with stuff like that. Honestly, that second prompt of what's going to happen, what's coming up for the day, and the one that the first one that says, go back the last X number of days and tell me what I'm missing. Those are my two biggest things because you can't keep up with everything. So that one that says go back, the one is the type of thing I like to run on a Friday because no one likes to have a meeting on Friday afternoon. So you can just say, hey, what happened this week? What did I miss? What are my action items? So you can catch up on the things that you have to do that you don't necessarily remember or don't want to look through your notes for. And the one that is, especially on a Monday morning, what's coming up today, or you can change that prompt instead of saying today, what's coming up this week, and you can plan out for your week. Because there are certain engagements where we have to corral our team and get a bunch of people in to work on it. This is a quick way to highlight, hey, you have this coming up on Thursday. Make sure you line up these resources to talk about these different topics. Super helpful and super useful. Any other questions? Troublemakers in the back. Okay,
All right.
thank everyone for joining.
Thanks, everyone.